Silky Smooth, Daddy Issues 2, Uber Eats Kids, I, Robot 2. All these games belong to completely different genres, and yet they share something very special: a steaming hot female protagonist. These games are sequels, and I'm not necessarily sure how to put this into words properly, but I have a feeling these games are somewhat cursed. Like, no matter what they do, how much they try to build upon what was already great or even change things up, your brain will tell you that what you're experiencing might be objectively better, but your heart will not flutter the same way it did with its predecessor. This is something that has been on my mind for a while now, and I wasn't sure whether to make a video on it or not, but with recent months gangbanged by sequels, I found it to be quite unavoidable. Leave a comment below if you feel the same way. Which sequel made you feel this way? Like, it's doing everything better, but it's still not enough to take the first game's place in your heart. Are some of your favorite games forever stained because they came after another game? And why is there a disproportionate bias towards a arguably worse game? I'll try to break down why I feel the way I do towards sequels by showing some examples, and hopefully we can spark an interesting conversation in the comment section. Some of my favorite games in recent years have mostly been AAA console exclusive titles: The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Horizon Forbidden West, God of War Ragnarok, and Spider-Man 2. Sadly, I don't have the footage of any of them since I've played them a while before I started my YouTube channel, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
I still find it very important to talk about these games because my eyes were not deceiving me. These games looked better, they performed better, and they played better than their older brothers, but something felt off. Something as odd and out of place as dreaming a dream you've already had before. Like, the outline is there, but some details are just missing. I grabbed the controller and right off the bat, I knew what I was supposed to do. I knew how to move, how to land a strike, dodge, and use abilities. There was no magic of discovery. However though, experiencing the first game was quite the opposite. I remember the first time I played Breath of the Wild and I didn't figure out right away that I needed to light up a torch to warm me up through a snowy mountain. Figuring out that small thing and many others that were never explained by the game made the exploration so satisfying, so rewarding, and so endearing. And then the second game came. Tears of the Kingdom is an absolute behemoth of a game, taking the map of the previous game and adding 2 freaking layers to it. 2, the Sky Islands and the Underground. The abilities went absolutely bonkers. You could make a spinning dildo and kill enemies with it. You could make any kind of vehicle you wanted, any kind of weapon, by fusing any 2 items of your choosing. The game just lives and breathes freedom. And yet, it couldn't top the first one in my heart, and for that, I could only blame my perception. 2 months ago, as most of you probably know, arguably the most anticipated sequel of this year came out, and naturally, I'm talking about Hollow Knight Silksong. Although it did some things that pissed me off, like having more content to play after credits, which I'm really not a fan of, I had a fantastic time. The music, the atmosphere, the platforming, this game truly captivated me. The fights were not that challenging though, well, maybe except for this one and maybe this one too, but nothing to cry about definitely. I think the game did an especially great job playing with my feelings through art direction. Biomes that looked similar to the ones I've already explored instilled a strange sense of confidence in me, if that makes sense. Although I was visiting a completely new place with no directions, the game assured me that there wasn't anything to be worried about. However though, upon stepping foot on what could easily be another planet, my tension skyrocketed and I knew I had to lock in. The movement in that game is so tight, you couldn't fit a micro penis in there. Anytime I died or lost HP, I knew it was my fault and my fault only. Silksong is one of those games that you simply cannot blame when you fail. It's punishing but fair. And then again, if you ask me if I liked it better than the original, I will probably say I lie. I will say objectively yes, but it couldn't match the feeling of the original. Instead of reinforcing my fear of the unknown, Silksong kept reassuring me with more benches, fast travel points which certainly don't match the dreadful memories I have of the original Hollow Knight. Despite being a fantastic game like the previous ones I mentioned, it all boils down to this. A 0 to 90 transition will always feel more dramatic and meaningful than a 90 to 100 transition, if that makes sense. It's something that can be translated to movies and TV shows, I believe. If you're watching a movie for the first time, without expectations, you're easily swayed towards liking it, more so than watching a sequel for which a tone is already set. And it's all because we have expectations. Have you ever watched any of those game shows, game awards or directs? You know, the ones where shiny new trailers are shown for the upcoming games. In between the Chinese generic gacha slop, you might notice a sequel being announced. Every time we see a familiar name or better yet a number, we see it as another page in a book, but that number carries a much heavier weight, a certain past and an uncertain future. We know what it was, but we don't know what it will be. How does one go about making a sequel? By making it fresh, but not a deviation of its core. Whether you're a fan or not, you have no choice but to expect something. Will it be a slightly upgraded version of a formula that's already proven to be successful, or will it be a riot? I would be lying to you if I told you I have absolutely no expectations set for first entries of any of the franchises. We're surrounded by internet, opinions, love letters and hate posts, and by reading those we do subconsciously form some sort of bias, whether it be positive or negative. We rarely start playing games we've heard absolutely nothing about. So get your pitchforks and cold milk ready, guys, because I'll give you a teaspoon of hot takes. Ghost of Tsushima is mid.
What?
Hear me out, just hear me out for a moment. Art direction, wow. Combat, it was just really good. Graphics, absolutely wonderful. When that game came out, everyone glazed it
to infinity and beyond.
When I finally got the game, I was excited. I was about to experience peak, or so I thought. The story started like most revenge stories, your village/country/home ravaged by a new threat. Barely surviving like Bear Grylls drinking piss in the desert, your revenge story begins. The open world is pretty, like very pretty, but it's also very open-worldly. You know, most people you see you cannot interact with, only those that gave you side missions, and the map with a zillion markers. Follow this, kill that, talk to this person. Needless to say, cool atmosphere and amazingly polished combat weren't enough to keep me around until the end. But we're not here to talk about first entries. I just wanted to give you an example of how expectations can be set even for games that are completely new to us. Enter Ninja Gaiden 4.
An absolutely shame to make a video game like this in 2025. Ninja Gaiden was better 15 years ago. The second worst Ninja Gaiden ever. Please stop using Ninja Gaiden name for such games and make it a new franchise. This isn't a Ninja Gaiden game I played before.
The main character is not Ryu, but an unattractive character. There is a sense of speed, but it's not exhilarating. There are fewer weapon types than in 2.
Gameplay, mid graphic, bad target, too many enemy with shield. This game don't look like...
If I try to pronounce this, I might get banned, so we get the message. For someone who loves playing games made by Platinum Games, Ninja Gaiden 4 was right up my alley. It was fast, bloody, explosive, tight, and very responsive. It has everything I want in an action game, not to mention it being super smooth and not stuttering at all. Hello? A game not stuttering in 2025? What? It's nothing short of a miracle. Okay, I admit it. The game is not the most realistic looking game out there, and it doesn't need to be. It's stylish, cool looking, and runs really well. Sure, the level design is bland, kind of reminiscent of PS3 era with limited pathways and monotone traversing sections, but at least these sections gave an illusion of cohesion, like all the stages and missions were indeed connected. Although the game has a number 4 in its title, it's actually the first Ninja Gaiden game to be co-developed by Platinum Games, which basically means changes and disapproval, right? I didn't start this Ninja Gaiden section with negative Metacritic reviews to mock those people, because I understand them and I think their criticism is valid. Okay, maybe except for the Yakumo being ugly comment, but yeah, albeit a bit overdramatic and overblown, these kinds of comments can't really be helped. These people are probably die-hard fans of the series, at least that's what I imagine. Otherwise, I can't really picture being so offended by this still good, although very different entry, to feel so compelled to give it a 0 and make an account on Metacritic just to complain. As I mentioned before, that number 4 carries a certain weight that makes the floor of expectations crack and collapse, especially if too many things are added or changed. Ever waited for a sequel of one of your favorite series only to get greeted by a game that is so different that you might not even consider it a sequel? Off the top of my head, for example, Need for Speed Shift, God of War 2018, any flat-out game after the second one. Upon starting those games right off the bat, you might say, hey, this is not the franchise I fell in love with. In a more recent example, we got Helldivers 2. That game is so different from the first one, it was such a risk making such a different game that it would potentially push the fans off the first game away. Luckily though, it appealed to the masses and it became really popular. Another game I wanted to fit in here is Hades 2. I've played through most of the content during the early access stage, and even then, I was blown away by it. It was like the first Hades game, but on steroids. More diverse weapons, tons of NPCs to talk to, even cooler boons, the moon power thingy, it was just fast, fun, and 40 hours just flew by playing that game. Although I think that Hades 2 is just like other examples, objectively better than the first game, I believe they overcooked it a bit. There are too many perma upgrades acquired by earning like 17 different currencies. Some can be traded for others and some can only be earned during runs. While I believe having weapon aspects that completely change the playstyle of a weapon are cool, I feel like there are too many, guaranteeing you will want to grind for them and play endless amounts of runs. There are also time challenges with pre-made builds, Arcana cards that are basically the main type of meta progression in this game. More gods with even more boons, very different enemy types. At that point, with everything coming together and with too many upgrades and buffs, sometimes the game felt like a well-trained sequence of button presses because it was hard to visually distinguish what was going on 100% of the time. All that mattered was my HP and my enemy's HP. And with that, my little rant comes to a close. I'd like to know how you feel about this topic. Since I want this topic to reach as many of you and I hope I see many examples in the comments, please make sure you help the video get pushed by the ruthless algorithm by interacting with it. If it's your first time here and you like the video, leave a like, and if you vibe with my style, feel free to subscribe because I'm not going anywhere. I'd say while writing this script, I kept thinking to myself how I would have been blown away by all those sequels had I not played the first entries, which only goes to show that the problem is not inside these games, but within myself. I feel like it's inevitable though. Surely feeling so insecure about an amazing sequel must stem from a fact that the first entry was amazing as well. I'd probably not feel so confused playing a great sequel to a failure of a first entry. I would just say it's a lot better than the first one and that would have been it. I'd say we're so used to comparing games and attaching numbers to them that we often forget that it doesn't really matter which one is better as long as we had a blast playing both or all of them. Thank you for sticking around until the end. My next video will be about the games I played in 2025, so make sure you stay tuned. Ciao.